Hey everybody, welcome back to the official European League of Football podcast. I'm your host, Nick Alfieri, aka Nauf. Today on the podcast, we have Tim Hanswillemenke back on the show to talk about ELF playoffs. We go through the entire playoff bracket and choose our winners, who moves on through each round all the way to the championship game. Speaking of championship game weekend, guys, the ELF honors ceremony is on Saturday the 23rd, the day before the championship. You can get tickets to the ceremony at the link in the description of this video. I will be there wearing a suit, looking as good as I can, and I hope to see you there as well. Now, without further ado, the playoff special episode with Tim Hanswillemenke. All right, everybody, he's back. The ELF expert, Tim Hanswillemenke. I have spent the last 3 or 4 weeks practicing saying your last name. How did I do this time? How was
great. It's great. 10 out of 10 straight.
There we go. Oh yeah, practice pays off. So guys, we have a very special, exciting episode for you today. That is the reason that Tim is back. Today we are going to be talking about the ELF playoffs. This is our playoff special episode. We're going to kind of go through what's gotten us to this point here, the teams that are in the playoffs. And then we're going to go through the rounds, and we are going to make some predictions, perhaps some hot takes here. I know I got some wild ones, man. So
really,
I got some wild ones, man. So we're going to jump into it. So Tim, let me ask you just where you are at and your opinion on the playoff brackets and the teams that missed out, the teams that got in there, especially in these last coming couple weeks. How do you feel about everything?
I think it's great. I think that the best 6 teams in the European League of Football got into the playoffs. I'm a little bit sad for the Munich Ravens to lose out on the playoff spot, being 7-5 at the end. Yep. But also, if you look at the Raiders, I mean, it's the first time they actually missed the playoffs. Or it's the postseason then, because it was only the Austrian Bowl in 2007. So that's a long playoff streak that they now have broken in 2023. So losing out for the playoffs for the first time since 2007. So that also hurts for them. But I think that the best 6 teams actually have a spot in the playoffs and now compete for the 2023 championship game.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I agree with you 100%. I think it's pretty wild and kind of I guess you'd have to say a disappointing season for the Raiders, like a team that's had so much success in the past, and for them to miss the postseason. And then also what you said, there were a couple teams that caught kind of fire late. Got the Munich Ravens, who are really trending upwards. Also, Paris really finished the season pretty strong. These two.
I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't.
You don't think so?
I mean, they actually. We can dive into the Paris basketball for just one minute because it's a playoff episode.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk Paris.
Let's talk about Paris Musketeers, because
here we go.
A lot of people are saying that they finished strong with a 4-0 record. Right? They have the 4-game winning streak at the end of the season. But have a look at who they actually went against in those 4 games. It was the Barcelona Dragons 2-10 twice out of those 4 games. They played against the Guards 3-9, and they played against the Hamburg Sea, was 4-8. So only against losing teams in the last 4 games. And then they went from 2-6 to being 6-6 and 500 at the end of the season. But yes, they had a strong finish, but also against weak teams. And that's why they're still at 9 in my power ranking and not higher, because of that 6-6 ranking or record at the end of the season. So hold your horses. They had a great run, right? But
settle down, everybody.
Still against not the best teams in the European League of Football.
Okay, this is absolutely a fair criticism from the man Tim, a harsh critic of the Paris Musketeers, but very fair as well. Yeah, I mean, of course they did not. Their schedule was front loaded with the strength. I mean, I did a podcast with Coach Mattioli a couple weeks ago, and he talked about how they had to open up the gate as a new team coming against some tough competition, and the back end of their schedule was easier. So, good for them. They're finishing out 500, but like we said, we're not here to talk about them. We are here to talk about the playoffs. So, Tim, shall we jump in to the wild card round.
Let's do it.
And go through these games. Do you have a preference of which game you want to talk first?
I mean, the first game happens this Saturday, so let's just dive into the Berlin Thunder at the Frankfurt Galaxy, right?
All right. Talk to me, Tim. Talk to me. Give me your expert opinion. What is going to happen on Saturday?
I think that the Frankfurt Galaxy should win, but will they? That's my big question mark. Because I think that the Berlin Thunder have the individual players to actually change the outcome of a game. I mean, look at the Kyle Ketchens, look at the Robin Wilczek, for example, look at Aaron Jackson. They have great individual players to actually beat you when you're not aware of them, where they are on the field. So that's the biggest strength of the Berlin Thunder, in my opinion. But the Frankfurt Galaxy are like an all-around team. That's their strength. So it will be a really good game. That's for sure. I mean, it's the playoffs, right? It's always a great game. But I think that the Frankfurt Galaxy should win. But I think there's also like a big question mark still left. Left to be answered.
Okay.
What do you think, Nick?
I think that you made some very fair points, especially about the individual players, the guys that have the ability to really influence the game. I do think that Frankfurt overall is the better team. I do think Frankfurt will win. I think it's going to be a tough, hard-fought game. Frankfurt had like 10,000 fans at the last regular season game, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I would imagine that the playoff game, a do or die game, they're going to be able to draw at least maybe a similar size crowd. And that stadium, when it's packed, I mean, I played there when it was we had like 7,500. And as an away team playing in that environment, it is pretty hostile, man. And that's a pretty big advantage, I would say, for Frankfurt, especially if they're able to pull close to 10,000 again. So I think going on the road, trying to upset Frankfurt's in that stadium, I just don't see it happening. Although I really think that Berlin is a good team, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Frankfurt as well, man.
Yeah, it actually has to be the Frankfurt Galaxy. I mean, it would be an upset if the Berlin Thunder actually come away with the win. Let's be honest about it. But I think that they have the potential to do that. So that's what I wanted to say. But I think one big thing also is the turnover battle in this game.
Talk to me.
I mean, if you look at the regular season, the Berlin Thunder are -3 in turnover, and the Frankfurt Galaxy are +11 in turnover margin. So I think that's a big point when you go into this game, because the Berlin Thunder have to secure the ball on offense and have to take the ball away from the Frankfurt Galaxy on defense. That's their key to victory for me, in my opinion. And the Frankfurt Galaxy have to just play secure ball, safe ball, no turnovers, and maybe also take away from, say, German quarterback from the Berlin Thunder on their side. But I think that's a big question mark also. So maybe it's Kyle Kitchens with a sack fumble. Maybe it's Paul Seifert with an interception. But that's a big thing going into this game, the turnover margin. So we have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a pretty wide margin. Actually, did you look at the stats? Where do each team rank in the league? Like with Frankfurt at what'd you say, +11?
+11. They're actually ranked second in the league.
And where's Berlin fall in the league?
9.
Yeah, so that's a big gap. That's a big gap. So if the Berlin Thunder win the turnover battle in this game, that's a big plus for the Berlin Thunder coming into this game. So that's a big thing. Okay, definitely. So we're saying we think Frankfurt's going to move on, but there's some potential for some upset possibly, but we're going with Frankfurt, huh? We're on the same page.
Yeah. We're on the same page, yeah.
We're on the same page, man. But I think we're gonna get on different pages in a little bit. I got some hot ones, man. I got some hot takes.
Really? You're going against the Stuttgart Surge at home?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
Shall we move into the Stuttgart Surge playing the Panthers then?
Let's move into
so the next day, Sunday, we've got Panthers coming from Poland on the 8-hour, if they're busing 8-9 hour bus ride. To beautiful southern Germany to play a guy who got in. Yep. So, Tim, what are we gonna expect on Sunday with these two teams?
I think maybe that's a hot take, but I think that the Stuttgart Surge will win big against the Rockville Panthers,
Okay.
in my opinion. Because Tony Tate is still not healthy. Didn't play in week 14. Maybe we will see him in the wildcard round. I don't know. But if we don't, then it will be tough for the Rockville Panthers to come away with the win. So I don't know. I think just also my gut feeling really says that the Stuttgart Surge won't let that happen. They will win at home and then move on into the semifinals. But that's just me. So what about you, Nick? You're a little bit closer to the.
I'm pretty close. I'm pretty close. Pretty biased
to see what you have to say.
No, I think a very fair point there. I mean, which we saw, Tony Tate didn't play last week, and I mean, I did a podcast with him. He's got that kind of dog mentality. I would expect him, if it's sort of a borderline injury, to play. But when you're in that situation as a player, like when you're playing hurt, it's different, man. It's not the same. So even if he does get on the field, is he playing at 100%? That's the question. And so, I think that's a big factor. Of course, that big bus ride, man, that's no joke. I mean, I did a couple of away trips with the Surge this year. For example, when we bust down to Milan, and that took 8-9 hours, Milan's not the best team, and the Surge came out very slow. And a lot of that was probably due to the long travel. Luckily in that situation, the Surge were able to kind of get their feet a little bit later and win big. But I think in a playoff game, in a playoff environment, you don't have that luxury, that time to kind of shake off the bus, as they say. So I think that's probably going to play a factor as well. I think the Surge will win. I think it might be a little bit closer than you're talking about. I do think that the Panthers are pretty tough. But I think ultimately the Surge are gonna come away with it.
Right. I mean, the Panthers play really good football. Don't get me wrong about that. I mean, they're ranked 5 in my power ranking, so they're still a really, really good team. But without Tony Tate, they have their great running back, right? Who ranks first in rushing yards in the European League of Football in the regular season. Right. But can they win by rushing the football? And without Tony Tate in their passing game. So someone has to step up, has to step in, be this key factor in the passing game and take away some of the heavy load that the running backs have to carry in this game. Yeah. But then comes the Stuttgart Surge defense, who actually plays lights out at the moment. It's really, really good. So that's somewhat of a mismatch because the Stuttgart Surge will actually, I think they will try to take away the Rockville Panthers running game. Yeah. And let them beat the Stuttgart Surge by passing the football. And then it comes down to, can the Rockville Panthers beat the Stuttgart Surge defensive backs in the passing game? And I just don't think so. Yeah, and that's tough. And that's why I think they will have trouble getting points on the board. And when you also look at the Stuttgart Surge offense, they have a balanced offense, and it's always tough to go against a balanced offense because they have Kai Hunter, they have Pasqualini in the running game. They have Yannick Meyer-Lewis guy. They have so many great offensive weapons. Also in the passing game, Riley Hennessy comes off a great game. I mean, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, no interception, no sacks taken. So I just don't see how the Rockville Panthers are able to come away with the win on the road after an 8-hour bus ride in Stuttgart and move on to the semifinals. I just have to go with the Stuttgart Surge.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you right there that we're going to have to go with the Surge. So nothing too crazy that we've got in our first round wild card predictions there. Kind of the expected teams to move on. All right.
So that's expected, but maybe we will have some hot takes now coming down to the
my hot takes. My hot takes are coming now. All right.
Maybe.
Let's move to the semifinal. So based on what we just said there, we're going to have the Frankfurt Galaxy playing the Rhine Fire, and then we're having the Stuttgart Surge play the Vienna Vikings. This is what our semifinal picture is looking like based on our predictions so far. So, Tim, let's talk Frankfurt Galaxy versus Rhine Fire.
I mean, they played in week 14, right? And I think what you could take away from that game is that the Frankfurt Galaxy are able to beat Rhine Fire. I mean, just the 10-point differential in the final score, 38-48. The Frankfurt Galaxy had a great day. Rhein Fire also had a great day. Maybe some minor issues that they want to clean up against the Frankfurt Galaxy if that comes to that matchup in the semifinals. But I mean, that game in week 14 just showed that the Frankfurt Galaxy have what it takes to beat Rhein Fire. And that says a lot. I mean, there are not a lot of teams in this league that has what it takes to beat Rhein Fire. But the Frankfurt Galaxy do. So that's really interesting. But I still think that the Rhein Fire will win and move on to the championship game, and will play the championship game at home in Duisburg, in the MSV Duisburg Arena. Schauensland-Reisen Arena it is. But I think there's just no way around like picking Rhein Fire in the semifinal, no matter what team matches against Rhein Fire. You just have to go with Rhein Fire. Maybe it's an upset because Rhein Fire is maybe like, okay, we have to beat Galaxy, but let's just think about the championship game because we will win 100%. I don't know, but I also think they have great coaching and they're professional, and they will focus 100% on the semifinal game and then move on to the championship game. But that's the only thing I can see, that this maybe is a trap game because they think, okay, that's a safe win. We will move on to the championship game with our minds, right? That's what I'm talking about. But I think they're too professional to actually do that. So I just have to go with Rhein Fire.
Going Rhein Fire.
You will have to do that too, but let's just hear what you have to say.
Well, settle down there, Tim. I told you I had some hot takes. No, I think the safe bet is to pick the Rhein Fire. I am actually going hot take alert. I'm going with the upsets.
All right.
Frankfurt Galaxy.
I like that.
Are gonna win in the semifinal. And this is hard. This is a little bit of a wild prediction here, but let's talk. Of course, Rhein Fire, an incredible team. Jadrian Clark having an insane season, balling out. They're doing great. When you look at the two times that the Fire and the Galaxy played, they played week 1, right? And Rhein Fire handled the Galaxy pretty easily. I think it was a pretty wide margin of victory. Then you look now at week 14 after the course of the season, and it was a much closer game. Just knowing from experience, it is so difficult to beat the same team 3 times in 1 year when both teams are good. When you have like one team that is much weaker than the other, okay, it's fine. It's easy to beat them 3 times in 1 year. But when you have 2 teams that are actually quite competitive, it is so difficult to beat them 3 times in 1 year. And I think the fact that this is going to be the 3rd matchup between the 2 teams plays into Frankfurt's favor. Obviously, they were much closer the second time playing. They're trending in the right direction. And I think this is just kind of an old football hunch that it's really hard to beat a team 3 times in 1 season. Things kind of go wrong. The teams kind of figure each other out. The playing field gets leveled a little bit in certain senses. And I think this is going to play to Frankfurt's advantage. And that's why we've got a hot take here that the Rhein Fire are not going to make it past the semifinals. What do you think about that, Tim?
That's a wild take, but I actually get what you're saying. I mean, beating a team 3 times is hard. That's really difficult. And I mean, you should know that because you're a former player and you play on a really high level too. So I think that's a valid take. As I said, it will be a kind of close. I think it will be a close game, but Rhein Fire for me has to win this game. I mean, the pressure is on Rhein Fire, so Frankfurt Galaxy coming into this game has nothing to lose really, because everyone thinks that Rhein Fire will actually end up winning again. But I actually like that take. I mean, now you have Frankfurt moving into the championship game.
Exactly.
And Fire loses out on playing the championship game at home in the home stadium.
It's a heartbreaking story that I'm telling here right now. But also what you just said there, man. When a team kind of has nothing to lose, like I think all the expectations are on the Rhein Fire. When a team has technically nothing to lose, like Frankfurt in this situation, you play looser. There's a little bit, when there's less pressure, sometimes this comes into play and you can play a little bit looser. And I think that combined with the fact that it's their 3rd time, I just go back, I think we actually, in the old GFL, when I played against the Frankfurt Universe, which was very similar now to the Galaxy. We played them 2 times in the regular season. Each game that we played, we beat them kind of handily the first time. The second time, it was closer. Then we played them in the championship game. And we got incredibly lucky. We probably should have lost that game. They were right there neck and neck with us. And it was all we were talking about. It's that third time. It's tough to beat a team 3 times. So we had to get kind of lucky and on a very easy missed field goal to win that third time. And I just think there's a strange football force that comes into play there. So that's my justification for my wild take.
But that's kind of interesting. So you're a former player, right?
Yes.
So what do you think that comes down to? Similar plays that are run, similar offensive calls, schemes. What do you think that comes down to? That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's so hard to even put your finger on it. And you know, because I've talked to some coaches. I talked to Coach Newman, Jordan Newman. I talked to Cody Pastorino, Johnny Brenner about this. Just it's this sort of phenomenon that it's difficult to win 3 times. I think the familiarity that you get, the teams get with one another somehow comes into play. It levels the playing field a little bit. And keep in mind, this is only when both teams are highly competitive. You can kind of say maybe the teams figure each other out. And now Frankfurt, you know, they've gotten 2 times to play against them, and maybe this will play into them being able to figure out the fire and come away with this victory that I'm predicting. So that's what we got there. That's my first hot take.
That's your first. So that's so I guess you picked the Surge winning over the Vikings in the second semifinal. Is that right?
Well, since you brought it up, man, let's move to our other side of the semifinal. And I am going with the Surge again. I'm going with the Surge. I'm going with the upset on both sides. Let's see. How can I justify this?
You have some explaining.
I've got some explaining to do.
Yeah, you're right.
Jordan Newman coached in Vienna for the Vikings under head coach Chris Kalaikai. I think Jordan was the offensive coordinator and the quarterbacks coach at the Vikings from 2009 or 10 to 2014. Yeah. Wow. So Jordan lived in Vienna and coached for the Vikings. So he's very, very familiar with the program. Him and Coach Kalaikai are close. They're good friends. You know, of course, I'm a little bit biased here, but I'm a Coach Jordan Newman fan. And I just think that when it comes down to this head-to-head matchup and the way that the teams are at this time, that's the Surge are going to come away with the win. I was also, you know, not to take anything away from the Vikings. I mean, obviously, phenomenal team, one of the best organizations. I was a little bit less impressed with their most recent win over the Raiders than the Surge's most recent win over the Raiders. I feel like the Vikings kind of escaped their most recent win over the Raiders. And I feel like, of course, the Surge versus Raiders was still a close game, but it felt like the Surge had a little bit more of a handle on it. Plus, they were, you know, Surge were playing on the road in a hostile environment. So just also the fact that near the end of the season here, we've both got a kind of a consistent variable that they both played the Raiders. And I feel a little bit more confident about how the Surge are trending. That's in addition to Coach Newman's experience there with the Vikings. And this guy's a wizard. I feel like we'll figure things out. Surge are going through to the championship, Tim. Talk to me. Am I crazy?
I think stop. So for just thinking about the championship game being the Galaxy versus the Stuttgart Surge is a wild dream. I think.
Pretty wild.
But I think it will stay a dream, not a reality, in my opinion.
Okay, bring me back down to earth. Let's go. Talk to me.
As I said, Ryan Fire should win this game against the Philadelphia Galaxy, so they move on. And I actually roll with the Vikings here. So we have different opinions on both semifinals. But actually, so in this game, Vikings against the Surge, I can really see both teams winning this one. Right. So I think this will be a lot closer than Ryan Fire and Galaxy playing, just because I think that both teams are on a kind of a similar level talent-wise, but also coaching-wise. If you look at Jordan Newman, if you look at Chris Kalaikai, as you just said, both great coaching staffs, great offensive talent, great defensive talent, well-coached teams. And they have playmakers on every side of the ball. So I think it's really hard to pick this game. This could be, I think that's kind of a coin flip, maybe.
Yeah.
In my opinion, looking at this entire playoff schedule, I think this game is the most interesting one to watch. When it really comes down to the Surge and Vikings. So if the Surge move on against the Brooklyn Panthers and then play the Vikings. So it will be a great game. As I said, I go with the Vikings, but I think it is kind of a coin flip. So you can pick each team and you cannot be wrong, basically. But for me, it's the Vikings. So we both have a different championship game, which will be interesting to talk about now, because now you have to say who wins it all.
Yeah, that's true.
The Stuttgart Surge.
We have a completely different championship game. Yeah. So you've got the two top teams that have been at the top of the league all year, consistent at the top of your power rankings, I think, every week almost. And
not almost. It was actually Ryan Fire top and Vikings second for the entire season.
Yeah.
You've got
finishing out consistently, and I've got a little bit of a change up here. So, do you want to talk about who's going to win your championship game scenario? You got the Vikings versus Fire.
Vikings versus Fire. It's Ryan Fire winning it at home. It's the easy one out, really. I know it's the easy one out, but I just can't go against Ryan Fire this season. I just can't.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a great coaching staff. Jim Tomsula, Andrew Whitingham will be calling mad plays on the offensive side for J.J. Clark, Tsuma Hungu to Holland Kofi, getting Glenn Tsunga in with that NFL type of offensive line. I mean, come on. So they just have a great offense. Then we can talk an hour about their defense, special teams with Amari Williams, kick returner, punt returner, always dangerous. Pedersen coming in also with the punt returns. He did a great job. So it's just too good of a team to go against Ryan Fire in the championship game, in my opinion. Whoever will meet them in the championship game could be Suka, could be the Panthers, could be whoever. But I think that Ryan Fire will actually win it at home for the first time in their franchise history in their second year. But we can talk about the offseason later, but because I think that Ryan Fire actually will win this game and then maybe fall apart slowly but surely in the offseason, because a lot of players want that ring, but maybe they then go to other teams. But we can talk about that in a minute. But I just have to go with Ryan Fire because they just have a too good of a team, too good of a coaching staff. They will do it. But I'm super excited to know who will win, Frankfurt Galaxy or Stuttgart Surge. So talk to me.
In my alternate reality, just commenting on your reality here for a second, Tim. I agree with you there. I would have to go with the Ryan Fire. Luckily, in my situation, the Frankfurt Galaxy knocked them off. And so, the Stuttgart Surge don't have to play them in the championship game. So my championship game, we've got the Frankfurt Galaxy, we've got the Stuttgart Surge, and I cannot avoid giving the beautiful turnaround and beautiful story championship victory to the Stuttgart Surge, going all the way through and winning over the Frankfurt Galaxy.
That would be a turnaround, going from
That's a turnaround.
10-2 in the regular season, and then winning it all out in the postseason and going with the championship.
So Coach Newman and Coach Kosling have coached against each other for quite a long time in Southern Germany. I don't know. I think they've coached against each other. Maybe I think we had like 7, maybe 8 games against each other.
Newman, for sure.
Yeah, many times. And Newman has always come out on top every single time. We've got quite a big sample size there. Not to take anything away from Coach Kosling, awesome coach, awesome guy, and I love what he's doing there. But I just get, when I look at the past coaching battle there, I've got to take that into account. I think the Surge are hitting their stride at the right time. This is a team that's gone through, they've had success for sure, going 10-2 in the regular season, making it the playoffs. Beautiful story, everything. They've had a ton of adversity as well. I mean, this is a team that had to play with 3 different starting quarterbacks, lost their starting European import running back, lost multiple European imports, defensive players, all in the same game. And Jordan Newman teams under these type of situations where a lot of times you think teams would break, they come together. Somehow they come together and they come through this adversity and end up continuing to be successful. I think the fact that they've been successful and still been able to have this season through all of that gives them some points in my book. And I think that they're hitting their stride right at the right time. Riley Hennessy is back playing great football, I think. And you can feel the energy and kind of the confidence of having him back on the field with the team. And because of all of these reasons, Tim, this is why I've got to go with the Surge, finishing out the Cinderella story of 2023 and taking the title of the ELF.
I was just gonna say that's the Cinderella story. I mean, that's maybe your next movie, Nick.
There we go. Surge City. Surge City. Yeah. You know, I'm a filmmaker and storyteller, so I like a good story like that. And
sure.
No, I do think that's, you know, I know these are kind of very wild takes for some people's opinions, but I think they're grounded in some, you know, decent arguments, and curious to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely, man. So Tim, we've got that. You've got the Rhine Fire coming through. I've got the Stuttgart Surge coming through. Let's see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
So then also on the championship weekend, we were going to talk about not only is the game, but the championship weekend itself is going to be full of events. We've got the ELF honors on the Saturday before, right? I'm going to be there. Tim, are you going to be there?
I can't be there. Unfortunately, I can't be there.
Sadly.
I'm at a wedding. I just can't be there.
We'll send you pictures, man. Well, I will be there. I'll be enjoying it. Hope to see all of you guys there. Anyone who wants to be a part of the weekend, I think it'll be awesome. We'll have the link to get tickets in the description of this on YouTube here, I believe we will have. So, yeah, I hope to see some of you guys there. I mean, Tim, it's awesome, man. This has been an awesome ELF regular season, and now we're hitting the playoffs right now, and it's just exciting stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Tim, thank you so much for coming on the podcast again. People really enjoy it. I appreciate your expertise. I appreciate you not bashing me too hard for my crazy hot takes and get, you know.
Great takes. Yeah, we just discussed. It's all right.
Yep, we're gonna see. So, guys, super excited for all of this. Best time of the year, ELF playoff time, and we're excited about it all. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Tim, thanks again for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Nick. See you.
For sure. See you.